Okay, let's continue with our goodwill computation when we are using formula number 1 and formula number 2. So in formula number 1, we determine goodwill after deducting from the original goodwill, we deduct the accumulated impairment losses. So the difference is goodwill net at the current or during the current year. Now, in the case of formula number 2, the NCI is measured at fair value. So we have the consideration transferred, then we add the previously held equity interest in the acquiree, and then from the total, we are going to deduct the parent's proportionate share in the net assets of the subsidiaries. So we have the goodwill attributable to the parent. And then we deduct the parent share in goodwill impairment. We have the difference as goodwill attributable to parent current year, as in letter A. Then we continue with the fair value of the NCI. We deduct the NCI's proportionate share in net assets of subsidiary. We determine now the goodwill attributable to NCI at acquisition date. And then we deduct the NCI share in goodwill impairment. The difference is the goodwill attributable to NCI current year, and that's letter B. So the goodwill net of at the end of the current year, we have to add A and B. So we have A, the goodwill attributable to parent, and B, goodwill attributable to NCI current year. Now, formula number 2 is used for the following purposes. 1, allocation of goodwill impairment to the owner of the parent and to NCI, and computation of NCI in assets when the parent elected to measure NCI at fair value on business combination date. Okay, we go to step number 4. In step number 4, we have the non-controlling interest in net assets. The non-controlling interest in net assets is computed as follows. We have the subsidiaries net assets at fair value. Current year, we multiply this by the NCI percentage. So the product, to the product, we add goodwill to NCI net of accumulated impairment losses. Now, the total is the non-controlling interest in net assets current year. This amount is 0 if NCI is measured at proportionate share. Goodwill is attributable to NCI only if NCI is measured at fair value. Now, in step number 5, consolidated retained earnings is computed as follows. So we have now your parents' retained earnings in current year end. So to the parents' retained earnings in current year end, we have now the consolidation adjustments. Parent share in the net change in subsidiaries net assets. We have the unrealized profits for downstream only. And we have the gain or loss on extinguishment of bonds. We have to deduct impairment loss on goodwill attributable to parent. Now we have the net consolidation adjustments. By the way, mention is made about downstream sale, no? So it's a sale between the parent and the subsidiary. Now, you may also involve upstream sale, but in the formula, we involve only downstream sale. Usually, you have your sales of inventories between the parent and the subsidiary. You may involve downstream or upstream sales. So we have now the net consolidation adjustments, and we have the consolidated retained earnings. Now, this is the retained earnings at the end of the year. Okay, now we go to step number 6. In step number 6, consolidated profit or loss. So in consolidated profit or loss, again, we have the parent, the subsidiary, and the consolidated balances. So profits before adjustments of both parties. Then we have the consolidation adjustments, unrealized profits, dividend income from subsidiary. This time, there is no income yet from subsidiary. But if there's any, then you have to deduct gain or loss on extinguishment of bonds that you may also deduct. The net amount is net consolidation adjustments. Then we get the profits before fair value adjustments. Then we have the depreciation, fair value adjustments. It's the one that I mentioned. The more appropriate term is amortization and not depreciation. Though if you are talking about a tangible fixed assets, okay, it may apply. Then we have impairment loss on goodwill. So the difference is consolidated profit or loss with the three amounts. Step 7, profit or loss attributable to owners or parent and non-controlling interest. So profit or loss attributable to owners or parent and non-controlling interest. So we have now the consolidated profit and loss attributable to the owners of parent and NCI. We have now the first column, parent, second column, non-controlling interest, and third, consolidated. First, we have the parent's profit before fair value adjustment. Then we have the share in the subsidiary's profit before fair value adjustment, depreciation or amortization of fair value adjustments, share in impairment loss on goodwill. So with the total, now for the owners or parent, the NCI, and finally the consolidated amounts. Now the last step in the drafting of the consolidated financial statements includes amount determined in the previous steps as already discussed for. Okay. The last step in the consolidated financial statement, including amounts determined in the previous steps. So the statement of financial position involving goodwill, NCI, and net assets of the ordinary of the subsidiary, that's step number 4, and consolidated retained earnings. Okay, we have the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income. And we have profit or loss and comprehensive income. Okay, so we now get your attributable to owners and to NCI. In the illustration, ABC Company acquired 80% in XYZ by issuing 5,000 shares with fair value of 15. So 15 times 5,000, that means 75,000. Though the par value is only 10, meaning there is an excess over the par value equal to 5 pesos. So if you have 5,000 shares, it means 25 The par is only for 50,000 pesos. On acquisition date, ABC Company elected to measure non-controlling interest at the NCI's proportionate share in XYZ's net identifiable assets. So XYZ's shareholders' equity on January 1, 2021 comprised the television, comprised of, here we have XYZ shareholder equity as of January 1, 2021 comprises the carrying amounts of the share capital amo ng imong nga common stock, retained earnings, and the total equity. Now, take note that these are found in the books of XYZ. Why the share capital is only 50,000. That's the par value. And retained earnings, 24,000. If you go back to the given data, the share capital of XYZ is really 50,000. Now, the fair values of XYZ's assets and liabilities on January 1, 2021 are as follows. So, XYZ ni amuni siya ang subsidiary. We have the carrying amounts, the fair values, and the fair value adjustments or the FVA. Cash, no adjustment, accounts receivable, none. But the inventory, the carrying amount is 23,000, whereas the fair value is 31,000. In other words, the inventory is undervalued by 8,000. So fair value adjustment, it's an undervaluation. We are going to add to inventory 8,000. So your inventory will be 31,000. That is the fair market value. Then we have the equipment with cost or carrying amount 50,000. The fair value is 60. That's why we have the fair value adjustment of 10,000. Whereas the accumulated depreciation based on the carrying amount is only 10,000, meaning it's 20% of the carrying amount is the accumulated depreciation. So if the fair value is to be used, the accumulated depreciation is also 12,000. In other words, there is an adjustment to the accumulated depreciation in the amount of 12,000. No? That's your accumulated depreciation from 10 to 12,000. So there's an increase under the fair value adjustments in the amount of 2,000. Then accounts payable the same. So the carrying amounts of the assets and minus the liabilities. In other words, the carrying amounts of the net assets amounted to 74,000, whereas the carrying amounts is 74,000. The fair value of these assets and liabilities is 90,000. So the increase in fair value, comparing it with the carrying amount is 16,000. Okay, will you take note of the amounts that we will be using in the succeeding illustrations? So again, inventory under valuation 8,000, equipment under valuation 10,000, and then accumulated depreciation is also understated by the amount of 2,000. Okay, so we have now your fair value adjustments for 16,000. The remaining useful life of the equipment is for years. So that involves an adjustment in the equipment by 10,000 and an adjustment in accumulated depreciation by 2,000. In other words, the net adjustment in the equipment account is 8,000. And as stated, the remaining useful life of the equipment is 4 years. During 20X1, no dividends were declared by either ABC or XYZ. There were also no intercompany transactions. The group determined that there is no goodwill impairment. Okay, so no goodwill impairment, meaning no adjustment in the amounts of the goodwill. ABC's and XYZ's individual financial statements at year-end are shown below. So at year-end na ini, while the given data previously were the amounts on January 1. Now these amounts are on December 31. So we have now ABC Company and XYZ Incorporated at the end of the year, cash of 23,000 and 7,000. So the total of 80,000, accounts receivable, inventory of 105,000 and 15,000, investment in subsidiary at cost, 75,000. That's the equivalent of 5,000 shares at 15. So you get 75,000. Then we have equipment, and we have accumulated depreciation of equipment at year end. Total assets of XYZ Incorporated is 124,000. The liabilities in the form of accounts payable, 30,000. So the net assets is equal to 94,000. That's 124,000 total assets minus the total liabilities of 30,000. So the net assets now equals the total equity of XYZ in the amount of 94,000. Take note that retained earnings of XYZ after the current year's operations, now it's already 44,000, giving the total equity of 94,000. Okay, we now go to your consolidated statement, no? Statement of profit or loss. First, before consolidation, we have the amounts of sales and cost of sales. We have the gross profit. We deduct depreciation and distribution cost. For XYZ being the subsidiary, earned net income of 20,000. The beginning balance of retained earnings of XYZ Incorporated was 24,000. Now we are adding another 20,000. That's why the retained earnings of XYZ at the end of the year is 44,000. That's the sum of 24 and 20,000 requirement. Prepare the consolidated financial statements as at December 31, 20X1. So solution, we are now going to follow the steps given. Step 1, analyze the effects of intercompany transactions, but there is none at all. So we can just leave this out because there is no intercompany transaction. Then we go to step number 2, analysis of net assets for XYZ, acquisition date and consolidation date, and we have the net change. Share capital of XYZ, the same amounts. Retained earnings, we have 24,000 and 44,000. So actually, the net change of 20,000 is due to net profit for the year. earned by XYZ. Okay, so other components of equity, and we have the total carrying amounts of XYZ's accounts at acquisition date. The carrying amount is 74,000. Now it's 94,000. And then the fair value adjustments at acquisition date was 16,000. It's still the same. Subsequent depreciation of fair value adjustments now is 10,000. That's the sum of 8,000 inventory net change and the 2,000 amortization of the remaining the remaining 8,000 which is the adjustment in the equipment. So we have now 10,000. And we have the net assets at fair value at acquisition date 90,000. At consolidation date 100,000. So the net change is 10,000. The subsequent depreciation of fair value adjustment is determined as follows. The fair value adjustments divide by the useful life. So we have the subsequent depreciation. For inventory, actually it's depreciation or amortization. As I have mentioned earlier, the term depreciation does not apply well on your inventory charging, but you would rather call it amortization. When the fair value adjustment in your inventory will finally be close to cost of goods sold because the inventory affected by the undervaluation was sold during the year. So that's why the 8,000, you will notice later after this, we will have journal entries and the 8,000 is finally close to cost of sales. So it's amortized just in 1 year time. Whereas the equipment with an increase of 10,000, though the accumulated depreciation increased by 2,000, so the net increase is 8,000. And you have to divide that by the useful life of 4 years. So that's why every year you have an amortization or a depreciation. That will be 2,000. That's the annual amount, 2,000. So we have now for the totals for equipment 2,000 and inventory charge to cost of sales total of 10,000. So we have now the entire inventory is assumed to have been sold during the year. So that's in connection with your inventory charging of 8,000. Now, in step number 3, we have the goodwill computation using formula number 1 because ABC elected to measure NCI at proportionate share. So we have formula number 1, NCI is measured at NCI's proportionate share. We have now the consideration transferred 5,000 shares at 15. So we have 75,000. Then the non-controlling interest in the acquiree at 20% in step 2. So we have 18,000. Previously held equity interest is 0. The total of 93,000. We deduct